Hi, welcome to my video on extra parameter problems. These problems that I'm going to do now will review the triangle, the quadrilaterals of a parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, square, trapezoid, regular polygons, and the circumference of a circle. So let's start. Before we start, let's review the formulas that we need to know in order to work out the parameter. Match the parameter formula with the name. So if I have a scalene triangle, which formula over here represents a scalene triangle? A scalene triangle has three sides, but none of them are equal. So we look for three sides, none of them equal. That would be number 11. Would be A plus B plus C. An isosceles triangle has two sides equal. So these two sides are equal and this one is not. So we look for two letters, one with a 2. So, yeah, right there. P equals 2A plus B. So that's number 2. An equilateral triangle has three sides equal. That's one stroke, one stroke, one stroke. So that means we have a 3S because all the sides are the same. So we're looking for number 6. P equals 3S. A parallelogram is a rectangle pushed at a shape. Well, that's the way I look at it. Opposite sides are parallel to each other. And not only that, opposite sides are equal. So we got an A, B, B. So we got 2A and 2B, and 2A and 2B is number 5. So that's the formula for a parallelogram. 2A plus 2B. Rectangle is very similar to that, only a rectangle has right angles, the only difference. And we have a length and a length and a width and a width. So we have 2L plus 2W, so that's number 7. P equals 2L plus 2W, L plus L, W plus W. And a rhombus has a square pushed at a shape with all sides equal. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like P equals 4S, number 1. 4 sides equal. S, 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 S. Add up the S's, 4 S's. And a square is the same as a rhombus, only the difference between a square and a rhombus. A square has all sides equal. S, 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 S. But a square has one right angle, or we could say 4 right angles. So it's number 1, 2. P equals 4S. A trapezoid has one pair of opposite sides parallel only, and we have no sides equal, so we have an A, a B, a C, and a D. So a trapezoid has 4 letters, and it's number 13. P equals A plus B plus C plus D. Add up all the sides. But if we have an isosceles trapezoid, then we have, again, the opposite sides are parallel. That's the A and the B, but there's 2 sides equal. So we have A, B, and 2 C's. So that would be number, or we could have a B and a B. We could have 2 B's and an A and a C. It makes no difference, but it's number 8. Number 8, we have 2 sides equal. These are the two, what they call the 2 legs. These two, the bases can't, these are the bases. They can't be equal. They cannot be equal. And again, look at that. That's an A, a C. So if you put a B there, and a B there, and an A, and a C, then we have this formula here, the 2 bases. I got 2 B's, so the 2 bases are equal. But the 2 legs are equal. The bases are not equal because they're parallel. And a kite is this shape. We go right out here. There's a kite, and that's an A. These 2 are equal, and these 2 are equal, so they're B's. So we got 2A and 2B, and that is number 5. 2A and 2B, like a parallelogram, right here. And the circumference of a circle is, we know the circumference of a circle to be C equals 2 pi r, or pi d, whatever way you want to say it, and that's number 4, 2 pi r, or we could have said pi d. So that's number 4. The arc length is the rotation, how much you're rotating around the circle, over 360 times the circumference of 2 pi r. So that is number 10. Number 10. Rotation over 360 times 2 pi r. And a regular pentagon got 5 sides, so that means we have 5s. So we're looking for a 5s, so that's number 12. P equals 5s. Hexagon got 6 sides and is regular, so they're all equal, so P equals 6s. So that's number 14. P equals 6s. And a regular octagon is 8 sides, so P equals 8s is number 3. P equals 8 times s. That's an 8 right there. And that leads us with the review done. So let's do some extra questions to reinforce. We have a notice practice means pause the video, work out the question, and then press play to see if you're right. You can do that for each question and work them all out. Take your time. Find the perimeter of each. Okay, we have two rectangles joined together, an odd L shape, and we want to get perimeter. We need the length of this side and we need this side in order to add them all up. So if we go from here to here, that's the same as going across right here. So that's a 7, and that's a 9 as far as there. So 7 add on the 9 will give me 16 inches. And if we go from top to bottom, straight down, perpendicular to these two sides, that means I can go straight down here, and I would be the same distance. So if that's a 2, then this must be a 7, an 8 to go all the way down. So that means this side right here is 8. So 2 and 8 makes all the way down 10. So now we have all the sides filled in. So let's start right here. We got a 10, 16, 2, 9, 8, and a 7 is left. And we add all those up, we will get a 52 inches. So you get 26 from those two, you get a 11 from those two, 15 from those two, and add all them together, and you'll get a 52 is the perimeter of this rectangular figure. B, we want to get the perimeter of this figure, but we have a 4, so that's equal to that, so that's a 4 meters. We need this length, but we don't have it. So how do we find it? Well, we got a triangle here. So if I take this triangle and turn it upside down like this, so you can see it, there's the right angle. That's an 8, that's a 6. So if I have a right triangle and I join this up right here, this is the triangle I reproduce. This is the segment right here. So I'm going to call that side X. Because we have a right triangle, we can use what we call the Pythagorean property. C squared is A squared plus B squared. And that means the hypotenuse is a C, and the hypotenuse is opposite the right angle, so that's we're going to call that X. And the other two sides are 8 and 6. And 8 squared is 8 times 8 is 64. 6 squared is 6 times 6 is 36. So X squared is 100. So if X squared is 100, what number do you square to get 100? Well, X equals the square root of 100, and the square root of 100 is 10. So that means if this side is 10, that means this is a rectangle, so this side is 10. So now we can get the perimeter of the figure as 8 plus 6 plus 4 plus 10 plus 4. So 8 and 6 plus 4 plus 10 plus 4. And that's a 14. And 3 of these makes 18. So altogether we have 32 meters for the perimeter. Again, we had to use the Pythagorean property on the right triangle to get the length of this segment here, which is also equal to this segment. C, we have 3 circles inside the rectangle, and the circles are just touching each other, and the circles are just touching the edge of the rectangle. The radius of each circle is 4, so if that's a 4, then that's a 4. That means that this is 8 in diameter. That means that that's 8. That means that that's 8. So if that's 8, 3/8 are 24, so that means the length of this one is a 24, and that's a 24. So if the radius of the circle is 8, and we want to come down through here, so that diameter is 8, so this diameter is 8, that means the length of this side here is 8. That means the opposite side is 8. So we have what we call a rectangle, rectangular shape. We want to find this perimeter. So the perimeter is, for a rectangle, is 2L plus 2W. The length is the longer side of 24. The width is the shorter side of 8. 2 times 24 is 48. 2 times 8 is 16. And added up, we get 64. And the unit is centimeters. So the perimeter around this rectangle is 64 centimeters. And we have another one, number 2. Let's see, perimeter of a square. So this is a square, and we know that a square has all right angles. And we know that a square has all sides equal. So if we're dealing with a square, we want to find the length of the circumference of the circle to the nearest tenth. So we want to find the distance around this circle. So let's work on the square. The square has a 48, so the perimeter of a square is 4s. Let's put 48 in the place of perimeter. So 48 equals 4s, divide by 4, and I get s is 12. So the side is 12, 12, 12, 12. So if this side is 12, that means that your diameter of your circle is 12. So the diameter of the circle is 12. The diameter straight across, 12. That means if your diameter is 12, that means your radius of your circle is half of that. So from here to here is 6. And to get the circumference, I need the formula. C is equal to 2 pi r. 2 pi, we say, is 3.14 approximately. The radius is 6. And we multiply all that out with a calculator. We'll go 2 times 3.14 times 6, and we'll get 37.68. But we want to round it to the nearest tenth. When we round it to the nearest tenth, we look at the 10th place, which is the 6. If this number is 5 or more, we add 1 onto the 6. So the 8 becomes a 0. 6 plus 1 is 7. So we get 37.7 rounded off. So the circumference of this circle approximately 37.7, and we have the unit is feet. So that's the final answer to number 2. Let's continue. Practice. Again, you know what practice means in my videos. Pause it, work it out, and play it back to see if you're right. And you can do that for each one of these questions instead of doing them all at one time. Now we have a triangle ABC. We have AL is an altitude of the triangle ABC. An altitude is a segment drawn from a vertex perpendicular to the opposite side. So that's a perpendicular down at L. AL is 15, so that's given as 15. AB and AC are 39, so AB is 39. AC is 39, so the two of these sides are equal. The diagram on the left represents the walking trails. If a person walks each trail only once, how far would the person walk starting at A? So if we start at A and walk the trail down here, over here, up here, down here, and back to L, you've walked each trail once. But we don't have these two, or this side here, or each of these sides in these two triangles. But we notice that's a right angle there. That's 39 and 39, and that's a right angle. That means that these two, they have to be LC and LB have to be the same lengths. So let's get the length of one of them. And again, we have a right triangle. So we have, let's draw that triangle, just one of them. and we have an A and an L and a C with a right angle. We got a 39, we have a 15, and we need to find the length of this side. So let's call this side X. So we have C squared equals A squared plus B squared is the way I always write it down. C is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is across from the right angle, so that's a 39 being squared. A could be 15 if you want it, and B could be the X, or A could be X, B could be the 15. 39 squared on a calculator is 1521. 15 squared is on a calculator is 225. And since we have X is on the square over here, we leave it there. We could move the X squared over on the right and make it negative. We could move the 1521 over here and make it negative. But if we leave it there, we go 1521 minus 225. Move this to the right side and make it negative. So we got X squared. And when we subtract that on the calculator, we'll get 1296. And X squared is 1296. So X is the square root of 1296. So that means X is going to equal, on a calculator, square root of 1296 is 36. So we have a 36 here and a 36 here because these two triangles are congruent. An isosceles triangle with a coming down from the apex angle, that this altitude will bisect the line opposite the apex angle. So what the perimeter is, and what we have is, we have two 39s, we have two 36s, and we have one 15. So 39 and a 39, 36 is 36 and 15. So if we walked around, that would be 78, that would be 72, and 15, and add all that up, and you get 165. That's 150 right there, plus 15 is 165, and we have the units as in meters. So the perimeter of this problem is 165. Let's come on to number 4. From a tower A car travels north for 3 hours at 100 kilometers an hour, then east for 5 hours at 80 kilometers an hour to tower B, and then in a straight line road from town B to town A. How far did the car travel? Well, what we have is, if you think about it, we have, let's say, there's town A, and if you leave and go north, north is, if you think about the earth, we got north, we have south, we have east, and we have west. So if we leave town A and go north, we go straight up from town A, and then you're going to go east. So east is going to go right at a right angle. So there's east. So we go straight up and then right. And when we do, we go east, and that's town B right there. And then there's a straight road from town A to town B. Because there's a north and an east direction, we have a right angle. And guess what? We have a Pythagorean property again. But we got to calculate how far you travel north and how far you travel east. So let's distance equals rate times time. So leaving town A, they traveled at 100 kilometers an hour for 100 kilometers an hour for 3 hours. The hours cancel out, and we get 300 kilometers. So that's 300 kilometers traveling north. And so let's get the distance. How far did he travel going east? So the rate going east is 80 kilometers per hour for 5 hours. And the hours cancel, and I get 80 times 5 is 400 kilometers. So that's 400 kilometers. So we need to find how far the distance from A to B is, and we have a Pythagorean. Pythagorean is C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Let's call this side X, because that's the unknown. So across from the right angle is the hypotenuse, which is the C. So x is the C, hypotenuse. We got 300 for one side, and we got 400 for the other side. 3 times 3 is 9, and we got 2 zeros, so we double them. We got 400 is 4 times 4 is 16, and we got 4 zeros. So use your calculator if you wish. And we add them, we get 25, and we get 4 zeros. And x is the square root of 4 zeros, 250 now. And that square root of 25 is 5. So 2 zeros, take 1, we get 2 more zeros, or you can use your calculator. And we have the perimeter is, if that's 500, how far did he travel? 300 plus 400 plus 500, and all together that's 1,200 kilometers total distance the car traveled. Okay, number 5. Find the cost to fence a rectangular garden 30 by 20 if the fencing costs $30 a meter and you have a tax of $8, 8% tax, which so, but 8% tax. We have a rectangle garden. Let's draw a rectangle. Rectangle got right angles, and a rectangle got opposite sides equal. So that's the length, and that's the width, which is shorter. A rectangle in perimeter of a rectangle is 2L plus 2W. So we got 30 for the length, 20 for the width. That's 60 plus 40. So the perimeter of the garden is 100 meters. So what's the cost of the material? The cost is we got 100 meters, and we got to pay $30 a meter. So 100 times 30 is $3,000 we got to pay for the material. But we have a tax, and the tax is 8% off the cost. So it's 8% of $3,000, and 8% is 0.08 times 3,000. So just to review, we got 8%, and the decimal is right there. So when we change the percent to a decimal, we move it 2 places to the left. So we get decimal 0.8. Or 8% is 8 out of 100. And 8 out of 100 is decimal 0.8, because the 8 goes in the hundreds place. And when we multiply that, we get 240. You use your calculator, or 3/8 or 24, and we got to use 2 decimal places, so we get $240. So the total cost to fence the garden is $3,000 plus $240. So it's $3,240 to fence the garden. Okay, let's continue. We got 2 more to do, and practice means pause the video, work out the answers. Here we go. A Ferris wheel has a radius of 5 meters. If a person rotates 6 times on the Ferris wheel, what's the distance traveled to the nearest meter? Well, we have a Ferris wheel, which is the shape of a circle, and we have a radius of the Ferris wheel is 5. So we have to get the distance the Ferris wheel travels is the circumference. So one rotation here is the length of the circumference, which is 2 pi r. Pi is 3.14, and the radius is 5. And 2 times 5 is 10, so 10 times 3.14 is 31.4 meters. Or you can use your calculator. 2 times 3.14 times 5. And that's one rotation, but we have 6 rotations. So the distance to travel on the Ferris wheel is 6 times the circumference. So it's 6 times 31.4 meters. When you multiply that out in the calculator, you get 188.4. But we have to round it to the nearest meter. There's units, so that's right here. This number is less than 5, so that becomes a 0. We do not add anything on to the 8, so it's a 8, 8, 1. So the final answer is the distance traveled on the Ferris wheel is 180 meters to the nearest meter. And number 7, a walking trail in the country park has a square shape with a side of 3 kilometers. So imagine if you're in the woods and you have a square like that, and you're going to walk, there's the lines are cut. We got a square which is 4 right angles, and a square has all sides equal. So that means we have P equals 4S. And if one side is 3 kilometers, then the total distance around the park, if you walked it, would be 12 kilometers. And we want to find how long it would take it to walk around. Let's see, if the time to walk the square is 2 hours, or 2 hours to walk around the square from beginning to end, find the speed in meters per minute. Right now we have kilometers and we have hours. So we have to change our kilometers, 12 kilometers, so 12 kilometers. And we know that there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So kilometers cancel. So 12 times 1,000 is 12,000 meters you're going to walk. So that's your distance that you're going to walk. Now the time is 1 hour, is 2 hours. But we know that if we take the 2 hours and change it to minutes, we have to multiply it by, there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. Again, the hours cancel, and I get 120. So the time is 120 minutes. So the distance in meters is 1,200. So we know that the distance is rate times time, but we want the rate. So if we divide both sides by t, we get d over t equals the rate. So the rate is distance divided by time. So the distance we traveled is 1,200. The time is 120 minutes. So we divide this out, cancel the zeros because you're dividing top and bottom by 10. And 12 into 12 goes once. So we get 100 meters per minute is the rate that the person is walking. 100 meters per minute walking around the square in the country. Hey, that brings us to the end of our video on the review of perimeter. If you like my video, click the like button. If you're not a subscriber, click the subscribe button. And click the notification bell because there's more videos that are being done by me. And if you are a subscriber, write a comment on my video. And visit my math website at www.mathfullyexplained.com. There you'll get information on me, about the videos, and especially the content that I have on the videos. And thank you very much for viewing my video. Bye-bye.